everyone, today we're going to be working on a Matisse-inspired collage. Now, Henri Matisse was an artist who did a lot of beautiful paintings, but he's also really well known for his paper cutouts that he glued together onto a paper, therefore calling it a collage. Collage is a French word meaning to stick together, so that is basically what we will be doing today. We're going to be taking lots of different papers, cutting them out and sticking them together onto a background to create a new scene. So, what you're going to need for this is a pencil, a pair of scissors, and a glue stick. You're also going to want maybe a marker or two just for outlining and things like that. Definitely a white piece of paper, but it doesn't have to be a big one. We're going to be drawing and cutting something out of here. And then any variety of colored paper that you'd like, whatever color you want for a background, and whatever smaller pieces for cutting some details. All right, let's get going. All right, we are going to be creating a scene of a fishbowl sitting on a table. Matisse really enjoyed doing sort of everyday common things like that, so we're going to be doing a Matisse-inspired fishbowl scene as well, and we're going to start by creating our fishbowl. So take your white piece of paper, and you're going to be grabbing a pencil to draw the fishbowl shape. Let's zoom in. All right. The first thing we're going to do is create a squished oval. So I'm going to be drawing a squished oval here. It's a circle that's been squished, and that's what an oval is. So just draw sort of this shape. If you're someone who says, I can't draw a perfect circle, great. I don't want you to. I want you to draw a oval. Next, we're going to draw some curves coming down from the ends of our oval. So I'm going to start at one side and draw a curve coming down, and then another curve coming down on the other side. And then we're going to connect these lines with another sort of curve shape. We're not going to go straight across. We don't want to make our bowl look flat. We're going to do a curve. And that is all we need for our bowl shape. This is to be where we're going to be putting our fish, and we're going to be cutting this out. Before we do that, let's get a marker. You don't have to do this step if you are not able to. Maybe you don't have a black marker on hand. I'm using a Sharpie, but honestly any kind of black marker will work. Here I am finishing it off with my Crayola. In fact, I almost prefer it because the line is a little bit thicker and it just looks a little bit nicer to me than that skinny Sharpie line. So I'm going to outline it with this nice thick line. Okay. Now we're going to be cutting this out, and we're going to be putting it into our background. Let's zoom back out. When you're ready to cut it out, use your scissors and cut on the outside of the black line that you did so that you can still see it after we cut it out. If you end up cutting on the line, that's okay. But I'm going to try my best to cut kind of like next to it so that I still have my black outline showing even after I've cut it out. And there we have our bowl. Now I'm going to decide what background color I want for my scene. Now I can put my bowl in whatever direction I want. I can have it be a horizontal or a vertical scene. I think I'm going to go with vertical though in this case, just so I have some room above it to do some cool patterns. But either way is going to work. It doesn't really matter which direction you put it. Pick a direction you think it looks best in. And before I put it down, it needs to be sitting on something. So I have this nice red background, but I want it to be sitting on top of a table of some sort. So I'm going to make it look like there's a table here by finding a piece of paper and cutting out a strip that I can lay down. So I'm going to take this light blue paper right here, and I know that I want a piece that's going to fit here at the bottom. So I'm making sure my paper is the same direction as my background paper, so it's up to you which direction you're doing it in. And just to measure, I'm going to take my pencil, I'm going to draw a line going across the bottom of my paper that I want to cut out. Take my scissors and cut right on that line. And then I'm going to be gluing that down right at the bottom so that now when I put my bowl on it, it looks like my bowl is sitting on top of my table. When gluing, make sure you're using a placemat of some sort so that you're not getting it all over your nice background. Also, make sure you're working on gluing the outside edge of your objects. The inside is fine, but the outside is the most important part to glue, and the only part you really need to glue to make sure that you are going to be getting a flat surface. All right, now before we glue that bowl in place, we're actually going to work on the background a little bit first. So I'm going to be taking some different pieces of colored paper, different sizes, different shapes, whatever I want, and I'm going to start cutting out some of those organic shapes that Matisse would often put in his background. Now, they looked a little bit kind of like fingers kind of crawling out. Some people think they look kind of like seaweed or something. You can either do it straight with your scissors or you can draw them first. Now, I would recommend doing this in pencil first so that way you can see what you're doing. But if you want to just jump right in with your scissors, you're feeling brave and you're okay with just some unusual fun shapes, then go right ahead. That's exactly what Matisse did. Let me show you the kinds of shapes that he would often do though. So one of the shapes that he liked to do a lot were these kind of wavy organic shapes. So I would start with sort of a curved shape like this. And then coming off of this curved shape, you're going to do some kind of funny looking fingers almost. This is a very sort of common Matisse type of thing to do. I might even draw more than one, maybe some that are big, some that are small, some that have a few little fingers, and some that have a lot of little fingers. Maybe even do some long skinny ones like this where they're long, straight line, and then coming off of this line we have a bunch of little funny wavy lines coming off of it. It's really up to you how you want to do it, and also if you want to just kind of freehand it. That means not use your pencil at all, but just go in with your scissors and start cutting. Matisse called this drawing with scissors. So instead of drawing something ahead of time, I'm just going in and I'm just cutting and turning my paper, creating some interesting shapes, and I'm not too concerned about how they're going to come out. I'm just going with it. And once I get my shape, there we go. I'm all done. It's okay if it's a weird blobby shape. That's what we're going for. So cut yourself out a few of these kind of shapes. We're going to end up gluing them onto the background. The other cool thing is once you've cut out your shapes, you still have all these fun curvy shapes that you created. You can just start cutting the other direction and suddenly I have another really cool funky shape that I was able to use as my leftover piece. So you can get a lot done with just a few cuts of these funny little pieces of paper that we have. Alright, so I have a lot of different pieces. Now I don't have to use all of these, but I do want to put a bunch of them in the background, sort of is as almost like wallpaper. And then if I have some left over, maybe I can even put some inside of my bowl shape instead. So I'm going to just put a few in here. Those are going to fit nicely. So those will fit nicely into my background space. I left a little room around them. I'm going to save these extra pieces and see if I can use them inside of my fishbowl at all, so I'm not wasting them. Once again, when you're gluing down, if you have any pencil marks left on here, if you drew them out first, put your glue on the side that the pencils are on and try to cover your whole piece that you did with glue. Flip it over and put it in whatever place that you want. All right, now I'm ready to glue my fishbowl in place. Now that I have my Matisse inspired background done, I have my table. I'm going to glue this right wherever I want. Now it could be off the center, off to the side, high or low, but it should be touching this blue part of the table. And I'm just going to try to glue it right in the center, I think. All right, now I'm ready to start putting some colors inside of my bowl. So I'm going to use some blue paper. It doesn't matter what shade that you use, but you're going to want to put some blue inside of your bowl to create a look of water. So I'm going to take a piece of this darker black paper, and what I'm going to be doing is drawing a shape that is another oval shape to put inside here, and then another kind of curved under shape that I'm going to put inside this space. Okay, so here's how you're going to draw the inside part. Now we're not exactly sure how big this is compared to this, but I'm just going to put this on top, and I'm just going to draw a squished oval shape like that, and then I'm going to draw another bowl shape underneath it. And this time when I cut it out, I'm cutting out the oval separate from the bottom. And we're going to see if it fits in nicely. If it ends up being too small or too big, we can always adjust afterwards. Okay, so I have my parts and I've got them in here. Now this part is a little too high, so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut it down a little bit so they're not sticking up. And now that fits in a lot better. If you need to adjust it so that you have a little bit more blue here, you can always draw your design a little bit bigger, do it again, or honestly, it looks great to me having this little bit of a white space. It kind of makes it a little bit more abstract and kind of loose and fun. So I'm just going to go with it the way it is. I'm going to take my first piece, put some glue on it, stick it inside. Do the same with my next piece. And now I have the inside of my bowl. Now I'm ready to add some fish to this and any other details inside of my fish bowl. A lot of times fish bowls will have little rocks or pebbles or little coral at the bottom, and that's where some of this extra stuff might come in. I might decide to use one of these smaller pieces to have it sitting down here at the bottom to make it look like there's coral. I might cut out some other little pieces, but before I make that decision, let's get some fish in here. I've picked a couple pieces that I think make good fish colors. Obviously, almost any color would be good for a fish, but pick the color that you want to use, or maybe you want more than one fish in here, and you're going to draw a fish that we're going to cut out and put into our bowl. To draw a fish shape, we're going to need a sort of oval shape as well, like we've already done. I'm going to start by doing a curve going one way, sort of an arch, and then a curve underneath going the other direction. And the fin is sort of like a triangle shape. Now you could change these, so instead of it being a triangle, maybe it's going to be a little bit wavy. You could add a fin on top. You can add two little curves to make it look like lips. It kind of looks like a little heart tilted on its side as well. Once you have the shape you want, you're going to cut it out. And then we're going to end up gluing it into our fish bowl. Again, if you want more than one fish, you could cut out another one. My bowl is a little small, so is my water space, so I think I'm going to stick with just one. Again, I'm gluing on the side that I drew my pencil lines on because I don't want those to show. I want it to be just clean and neat. So I'm going to put my fish right here. Add a little black dot for the eye. And then add whatever details I want inside of my bowl. Maybe some pebbles, maybe some little coral pieces like this to kind of fill it in. Maybe I want to cut out some circles and make it look like bubbles inside the water. Get creative, think of some things you can add inside of it. Okay, there we have it. Our Matisse inspired fishbowl collage is finished. So I have my fishbowl, my little fish with some bubbles. I put a little pebbles at the bottom and a little piece of coral. And then we've got our fun background and tabletop. Hope you guys had fun making this with me, and I cannot wait to see the awesome fishy little creatures you create and what sort of Matisse inspired backgrounds you end up with. Have fun. See you next time.